All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to a different episode of the PA High School Football Report podcast. I'm Dan Sostek. Usually we have the mellifluous tones of Eric Epler introducing the pod, but you're stuck with me today because we got a different crew here today. We've got PennLive high school sports writer Rymir Vaughn because we were both actually out there in Harrisburg yesterday for the Susquehanna Township Spring Fling, which was eventful in multiple ways.
Yes.
Yeah, but first off, I know Rymir will start this off with a little bit of non-high school football stuff because we got a lot to dig into. But yeah, Rymir, I know you're a big NFL draft guy, so
Yes.
what was your favorite NFL draft class this year?
It's hard not to say a team like the Ravens is like, I love what they did with Malachi Starks. And now Mike Green has a ton of off the field issues.
Yeah.
It's a big if, but if that checks out, he was my favorite pass rusher. So I really like what the Ravens did. Of course, I love what the Birds did. I'm never going to say in Howie we trust.
Yeah, you can't doubt Howie Roseman. Rymir's been here for almost a year now, and the one thing you'll learn quickly about Rymir is he's a tape grinder.
Yes.
He's not just uncorking these takes. Whenever I see him in the office, he's grinding either huddle film or draft film or whatever. And I know him and Brian are working hard on. Hopefully, we'll have some rankings out for the high school football in the state for the coming weeks.
Give me next week.
And so putting that out there, that Rymir is not just going off rivals rankings. He's watching these kids. So I know he's a tape guy.
Yeah, tape is fun. Tape is really fun. You got to get into it.
How long have you been did you kind of grind tape in college throughout all that stuff too? I feel like you were always sort of into like the draft stuff, right?
Yeah, always. I didn't really start grinding tape till probably 2-3 years ago. 23, I think. 2022 was my first cycle.
Yeah, well, when you start doing it, it does really kind of teach you about football, right? Because it's like so many of these, like if you just watch the YouTube mashups of some of these guys, they look like all-stars and everyone looks like an all-star in their YouTube mashup. You really got to watch like the boring plays to kind of see how they move. I feel like that kind of connects with what we're talking about today because that's why you were out there and that's why I went out there for the Susquehanna Township Spring Fling.
Yes.
I forget how many years they've been doing it, but it is one of the first, big events. It almost sort of kicks off the next year's football season because you have all the juniors and sophomores and everything competing in it. And it's your first chance to kind of see how the off-season work has kind of manifested itself. See some kids flash last year that weren't necessarily the biggest players in the world. I mean, we did have some big recruits there. But I do feel like we have to kind of talk about the elephant in the room first. I had left a little early, seeming kind of fortuitous now, but I left a little early. But unfortunately, towards the end of the event, having nothing to do with any of the kids on the football field, having nothing to do with any of the coaches on the football field, obviously none of the college coaches there, just the kind of fracas broke out and the event had to be ended early. And Rymir can kind of maybe say what he saw, but just in general, like this stuff needs to stop happening. I mean, it's happened. We saw it in the basketball season with the Uniontown game that literally caused two teams to have their seasons end. It was a 4-point game in a basketball game, and some fight in the stands literally ended both teams' season and gave Hershey a forfeit advance because of people in the stands, not the players. And now this event, which is a big event to get kids recruited, has to end before a lot of the 7-on-7 stuff goes on, which is a lot of the big recruiting part. They like seeing that stuff. It just really stinks. And it's like, obviously Susquehanna Township said next year it's not going to be a public event anymore, which stinks because like most things, it's like there's one bad egg. There's a couple bad eggs that kind of ruin it for everyone, and most people there are just there to watch kids and watch the next crop of football. But it just stinks for the kids that were trying to get recruited. Maybe it doesn't even cut off them showing stuff. It might just cut off a chance to have a conversation at the end of the camp or whatever. Yeah. Like there's so much that ruined. And Rymir, you can kind of go into more detail about what you saw.
Yeah, so basically I was standing there, I was waiting. You had just left and I sat down. I decided I was going to sit down on the bench.
You're standing a lot at these things.
I decided I was going to sit down on the bench. And they just finished the first 7-on-7 period. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for the next one to start. And they literally just started. I think it was Middletown and Milton Hershey that was right in front of me as they was just beginning to start as, getting back into the swing of things. And over the PA system, the Susquehanna Township head coach, Joe Heaton he yells security. And I'm like, And the first thing I thought, I was like, oh, he playing, like, oh, he joking or whatever. But I turned my head to the right, and everyone, like security, spectators, everybody's like rushing to a spot on the in front of the bleachers or like right next to the bleachers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. There's a couple players next to me, and it was just like, please nobody have a gun. That was my thought too.
Yeah.
That was my thought too. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm from Philly. Like I get like I've
Yeah.
been present at a lot of these skirmishes, right? I'm sitting there and it's like I'm not worried or anything, and I don't like not feel safe, but like all the extracurricular activities
But you
just
know how stuff like this can escalate too, and it's
yeah,
just it sounds like everyone did their job at least though to in a tough situation. I think like a couple officers got hurt, but
yeah,
it sounded like eventually everything got dissipated. And but man, it just stinks. I just don't understand why that has to happen, especially like there's a lot of alleged stuff that happened that I don't know, how much you can go off word of a parent or whatever, but we did include in our story that there was some stuff said that you could see starting a fight. But you have to think about what the point of this event is. If you're not on that football field, it's not about you. I just really hope that it didn't impact anyone who was gonna have a conversation. And those conversations can happen over the phone and everything, but it's different when you get to see guys in person.
yeah. I mean, it didn't stop some people from getting offers.
Yeah, yeah, people got offers for sure. Yeah, there were definitely a bunch. It's more just like if you wanted to have a conversation at the end of the day, who knows? There could have been something like I'll catch up with you, at 9 p.m. or whatever after dust. So I do think a decent amount of the college coaches, some of the college coaches have left already. But yeah, I mean, and that's an event too that the Penn State running back coach Stan Drayton was there. Like
Yeah.
there's like big names, and Joe does a great job running that event. Gets a ton of people there. It's a great event for the kids. There's a night before event where they do recruiting stuff. It's more of just a recruiting event with coaches and stuff. Joe said we could come that next year because he said it was a little less hectic. I don't think he meant what was going to happen, but
Foreshadow it.
yeah, but like it is a great event, and that type of stuff is out of your control beyond just not letting spectators in the state. Like it wasn't like they were unprepared for it. They had police officers all over the scene too. But it's one of those things where it literally is just like something super unfortunate happens that kind of ruins the end of an event.
Yeah,
But that said, I guess like it's kind of hard to transition. We did have 2.5 hours of watching the event, and you don't want to judge stuff either way too hard on this because it's these kids in the off season. A lot of these kids are playing 3 sports. Some of them are coming off track practice and stuff too. But did get to see some big names there. I mean, the biggest name we saw there, Notre Dame commit offensive lineman Tyler Merrill. My highlight of the event was seeing Tyler. They were doing the tug of war and seeing Tyler Merrill as an anchor and just pulling all these offensive line teams on the other rope and just anchoring them to win after win. And I waited till after he was done that because I think he was locked in on winning that tug of war for Cumberland Valley. But I did get a chance to catch up with him afterwards. And one thing I've said about him is like, you can always sort of nitpick any offensive line film. The offensive line film is never going to be perfect.
yeah, no,
I think Will Campbell, there was that quote he gave about, if you give up 1 sack a game or whatever as an offensive lineman, you're working at like Applebee's or something. But it's never going to be flawless. When you have like a 5-star, you kind of nitpick every single thing, be like, oh, they got beat on that one play. But then you watch Tyler Merrill just dominate
yeah,
300-pound teams of tug of war guys. You're like, okay, he's strong as heck. I've interviewed huge guys before. When I was at Pitt, I interviewed Steven Adams, stuff like you're looking up. But interviewing Tyler Merrill, you just kind of forget how big he is. He is that classic Notre Dame offensive lineman.
he's a huge man.
It's going to be a big year for him because I was talking with him about that track record of Notre Dame offensive linemen. A lot of them are like him, right? Just huge guys that they get into that Notre Dame room and they hone the craft and just become sort of, monsters. And
Yeah.
so I'm really excited to see him. We saw him just doing the typical drills, and yeah, I think that whole Cumberland Valley had a couple other kids. I know there was another kid that stuck out to you on Cumberland Valley too.
Yeah, Zayden Smith. He's 6'4", like 200 pounds. So he is the prototypical size to be a really good receiver, or at least a jump ball receiver. And He looked really good in the corner drills. I don't know how much they play him there. It's on his Twitter. It does say he's also a safety. I
Yeah.
don't know how much he plays,
Most
man.
of his huddle film is like him making tackles, like coming down into the box and everything, which is like, I think he's even kind of big for a box safety, but I know
He's
he's,
a safety, like a
yeah,
DB period. Like he's six
yeah.
four. That's a receiver. That's receiver territory. But he was impressive just the way he sunk his hips, the way he was able to get low and actually, move. Like he moves really well to be 6'4".
That Cumberland Valley team, I think, because they went 6-6 last year, people might not be necessarily thinking of them in the Commonwealth because you got Harrisburg, you got McDevitt, but they sneakily have some guys that could make things interesting. I believe Brody Pines is back. I believe I have to double check, but I think he is. I always mix up some of these because they've got Zayden Smith, they got Elijah Sherman, who just got a Duquesne offer. And obviously that offensive line's going to be fine. And then Colton Stamey really came on at the end of last year and looked like a future really good quarterback in the Commonwealth. So they're going to be super interesting next year. And they're always a team that feels like they start playing their best football at the end of the year. So I'm excited to watch them because I agreed with Zayden Smith too. He's one of those because you see on the sideline and when you cover them all year, he wasn't necessarily one of the guys we were talking to after games. He had a couple big plays and some big moments, but yesterday was the first day you kind of see him without his helmet on. You just kind of see him walking around. You're like, wow, that kid has the frame to be next level player. Another storyline from the camps was who was playing quarterback for Harrisburg because it wasn't Jayon Lewis who led them all the way to the state semifinals last year. It was Michael Shank who started the first game last year, but then Jayon Lewis kind of took over the rest of the way. Our understanding is Jayon Lewis, he's going to move to wide receiver this year, which is his natural position. First off, he just did a heck of a job last year at quarterback for a kid who
Hell of a
was
job.
really just completely thrust into that position, right? And for him to not only take over to beat the state champion Bishop McDevitt, not just with his legs, but he made some throws in that game too. And for him to kind of lead them all the way there. And then this year, it sounds like he's fully embracing being a wide receiver, which I guess makes some sense because it probably is where he'll play at the next level. So he probably wants to get some reps there. But Michael Shank's a guy that there's been a lot of hype of him. He was at Trinity's freshman year. Sophomore year gets a chance to start at Harrisburg, doesn't work out. I saw him making some throws and again, it's 7-on-7. We were talking about how little any of this resembles actual football, right? It's like we were talking about the wide receiver one-on-one drills. It's like they can just run, they can just freelance do it.
TikTok route. That's what they call them, TikTok route.
I mean, you see the ball come out of his hands and you see why Harrisburg really believes in what that ceiling could provide if he in his junior year kind of figures it all out because he just throws a really pretty ball. And if you give that kid Elias Koch, you give that kid Jayon Lewis, and you give that kid Demir Arp, who's now at Harrisburg, who he was not at the Spring Fling because he's also a really good basketball player. But everyone I've talked to has said he's a guy that will also be a Division I football player he wants to be. So you have those three guys at wideout, then you have Messiah Mickens out of the backfield, and you have
Good
Kevin
offensive line.
Brown on the offensive line. Like it's all of a sudden a team that has so many ways to beat you on that offense. And Harrisburg's usually a team we talk about the defense kind of leading the way, right? They sort of beat you up with the dark side defense, and then the offense sort of wears you out. And then you also have PJ Denton, who is there, who's going to be the change of pace back. Like they're going to be such a fun team to watch next year. A lot of it, I do think Shank's going to be one of the most intriguing guys in the Mid-Penn, though.
We talked about it yesterday when we were standing on the field. We were like the quarterback play in the Mid-Penn just isn't as good as other positions or other leagues or
We've
conferences.
lost a lot of the top ones. Like we've had some of the best in the state, and now there's so many question marks, right?
Yeah, if Michael Shank can assert himself as one of those top Mid-Penn quarterbacks, there's no telling where Harrisburg can go. Because, like you said, they always have that defense that leads the team, and now you got an offense with so many weapons with Arp and Elias Koch and Messiah Mickens. Like their offense is going to be dangerous. They're going to go as far as Shank takes them, and if he can take that next step and become the guy, I talked to Elias. He said Shank is coming along, so. If he can put it all together this year, the Harrisburg team is really scary.
Yeah, when they played St. Joe's Prep in the state title game a couple of years ago, the one thing that was just so apparent was St. Joe's Prep just has so much more depth, both in top level talent and just in guys they can rotate in.
Mm-hmm.
Harrisburg's never going to match that depth. No one in the state is going to be able to match that St. Joe's Prep depth. But this year, they might be. I mean, I say this, and St. Joe's Prep has Jed Harrison, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s little brother on the team. But Harrisburg like has that top level talent. They have game breakers too in all three phases of offense. They have, and one offensive lineman doesn't make a line, but Tavon Williamson's a really good offensive lineman too on that team. Hopefully Kevin Brown's healthy the whole year instead of just 2 or 3 games. You have those weapons at wide receiver. You have Messiah Mickens, who really looked like the top back in the state at the end of last year. And you have a guy like PJ Dent to spell him, because obviously you lose Nehemiah Ewell. Deontay Sheffy's back in state college now. So there's definitely going to be more put on Messiah too. But if you have that passing game that you can rely on, because one of the biggest nitpicks you've had with Harrisburg the last few years is like, if they could just find ways to get Elias Koch the ball more often down the field, give him more chances, their offense would be taken to even another level. The thing about Elias that is so valuable, especially in high school, is you don't need to make a perfect throw to him.
Yeah.
You just need to get the ball around him, and he's going to beat most high school corners.
Yeah, the same catch.
Yeah, so it's like there's just so much promise. But then you look at their first 3-week schedule, and it's Emotep, Bishop McDevitt State College. It's like, and that's the thing about the Cal Everett's Harrisburg team. Obviously, only one of those games is a choice.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a choice because it sounds like not many teams wanted to play them week 1, and they weren't even able to get a scrimmage, which is another story. That's also ridiculous. But Harrisburg is also a team that you just trust, even if they start the year 1 and 2, that they very well still could win a state championship. So
yeah.
And last year they beat Bishop McDevitt, and you could argue that the team's better this year. So, man, it's going to be fascinating. It's just going to be so fascinating to watch them. I think Elias also looks like he got even bigger too. He looks like more and more like a college level wide receiver. So I'm super excited to see where they go. Anybody else stand out to you that you were watching at the Spring Fling?
He was in what's his name? Like Cyrus's shadow last year. Jared Kern he's such a good receiver.
Yeah.
He's an all-around player. He can beat you down the field. He can beat you on intermediate stuff, the short stuff. He can get off the line of scrimmage. Well, he had a bad drop.
He was laughing about it too. He's like, "Hey, get those drops out of the way at the Spring Fling, and then you don't drop one the rest of the year, so you're good."
But usually shorthanded. He's such a good all-around receiver, and it's a shame that his recruiting buzz hasn't picked up. Mm-hmm. But when you play in Lex Cyrus's shadow, is kind of
it's a double-edged sword, right? Because people say, "Oh, it's because he's getting all the attention," but last year he went up against Penn Hills, which has high Division I level talent on that team, and he tore up that secondary. I've always loved watching that kid play because he's just a freaking gamer. He is not afraid of contact. This is kind of sad as a Patriots fan. I don't like comparing people. It's a little like lazy, the white wide receiver stuff, but he does play a little like Julian Edelman at times. Like he's not afraid to go over the middle of the field, take a hit. He's both built like in his frame and he's big. Him and Zykeer Leaks are going to be a really good wide receiver duo with Torrin Evans, who Torrin was there too, wearing his baseball cap because he's still playing baseball.
Yeah.
And that passing offense, like Shanks obviously got to watch, but Torrin's going to be the guy that I feel like it's his crown to lose for being the top quarterback in the Mid-Penn this fall. So
yeah, that
passing game should be really fun to watch.
If they can put it together, like I was at their District 3 playoff game. I think it was the first round last year against Twin Valley. They lost that game within like 30 seconds. It was like a 17-point swing in like 30 seconds, something crazy like that. But Torrin didn't play terribly. Like he made plays when he needed to. He has this it factor about him, and he's able to like plays out of structure and deliver accurate balls deep.
It's the baseball player, right? It's that Mahomes stuff. I've always said that he's a kid that I've just had so much respect for because I've seen him. I've seen his development. I think I watched one of his first starts of his career down in Shippensburg, and it was not pretty. I think looking back on it, he'd probably agree with you, but he has gotten so much better from that freshman year. And it's a testament to that staff at Susquehanna Township too for the development. Last year was just a giant leap forward. He's just been so impressive. And then you talk to him, he's such a mature kid. You see why all the Ivy Leagues want him because he's smart as a whip. He's a guy that if we fast forward to December next year and he's got 40 touchdown passes, I think he might have even had close to that last year.
I think he had 40 total touchdowns. I think he had like 30.
Something like that. Yeah. I would not be shocked at all, and I would not be shocked at all if he's in the running for our overall player of the year this year.
And he has the weapons to do it too.
Yeah. Like there's He's got a good offensive line too. We've got to see Yendor Mack, who's
Mhm.
generating a lot of Division One interest too. Another guy who I think he'll be playing Division One football. He's got the frame and he's got the team to showcase what he can do as well.
Has a good run game. He's pretty mobile, can move around himself if they need him to. Like he has the talent, and he has the talent around him to put together a really, really good season.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there are plenty of other standouts. We had Central Dauphin there. CD's got to see Tyshawn Pollard at his first camp. There we got Milton Hershey, who kind of came on last year with Logan Jerry at quarterback. He's one of the most electric runners at quarterback I've seen in a while. If that passing game comes together, they could be really dangerous in that division.
Yeah.
We got Middletown. I believe Scott Govern was the coach, and he stepped down. So we'll see how that program handles it. Central York was there too. Gary, they're just always going to be
Yeah.
good. And they've got guys this year. Brooklyn Nace, Gurley, I think picked up another offer as well. You've kind of written about him. You've been impressed with him too, right?
I haven't gotten the chance to like sit down and watch his film, but based off some of the things that I've heard and seen, like with my eyes at these 7-on-7s and these camps, he gets open. And he has, after talking to him, he has very lofty goals. He wants 500 receiving yards because he plays tight end. He wants 500 receiving yards and 15 sacks. He doesn't know what side of the ball he wants to play on yet, but he did recently get an offer from Maine that would allow him to play both sides of the ball. We'll see what happens if he decides to go to Maine because he has that opportunity, or if he decides to focus in on one. But he was offensive MVP at the AFL mega camp, all American mega camp last week. He's a very intriguing player, and they have a quarterback like Brooklyn Nace, who's also generating some.
Yeah, I think he got another couple offers yesterday too. So,
And Nace looks smart as well. So,
and the thing about Central York is like you kind of wonder what if they were in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth. There's been buzz about it in years past. Some people said that they've wanted to move for football because they kind of feel like there aren't that many schools in York that kind of get them as prepared for the playoffs. So they usually place a team like Central Dauphin early in the season to kind of get that Mid-Penn taste. They're pretty close to a lot of these Commonwealth schools. The Chambersburg drive would be kind of annoying because they do participate in a lot of this stuff, and I know they've got good relationships with a lot of Mid-Penn. And, there's been a lot of shakeups with the Mid-Penn recently with Big Spring and James Buchanan leaving. This is not reporting. This is just entirely me wish casting. I'm sure some of the Commonwealth coaches will say, no, we're good. But,
yeah, there's
yeah.
always room for another good team.
I mean, hey, Josh Oswald used to coach there. So,
Hey, let's stop. We got to stop.
it was a fun event till it wasn't. But,
Yeah.
Hopefully next year, when they say it's closed to the public, the media could still come because we get a lot out of it. So, and obviously the college coaches get a lot out of it as well. Before we go, there's been a deluge of recruiting offers in recent days, but the big ones have been coming out of Bishop McDevitt, where Howard Holton's junior's recruitment has really picked up. He's a kid we've heard a lot about. He had 150 receiving yards last year in a loaded receiving room. He's a shorter, like slot receiver, kind of jitterbug type guy. He picked up offers from Delaware State, and I'm blanking on the other one, but he's a guy to keep an eye on. Jonte Quick is the big one, though, because he's a guy we've all really liked watching throughout his career. Had one of the best wide receiver seasons in the state, 16 touchdowns, 1,200 yards as a number 2 receiver. This year, he's going to be the number 1. He got a Delaware State offer and Howard offer, and then yesterday got his first major offer from the University of Pittsburgh. Pitt wants a McDevitt kid because it worked out with LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, why wouldn't they?
They also offered Jerome LaRue Jr., who picked up Indiana and Virginia offers too. So Rick Brown also got a Pitt offer too. I keep forgetting he's at McDevitt now. But when you keep seeing these offers for all these McDevitt kids who aren't even like the number 1 guys, you forget just how loaded this McDevitt team is. So,
Yeah.
Man, that battle for the Berg week 2 is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, especially in the receiver room. Jonte Quick was my favorite player that I've watched so far.
Yeah. He's such a good player. Like I don't understand why it took him this long to. I guess because he didn't. There wasn't that much tape before this year, but he's obviously a player. He's obviously a player.
This is ridiculous, just how much talent that McDevitt seems to always find.
Yeah.
Every time you turn around, they got a freshman with 3 high-level Division I offers, and you're like, where'd he come from?
Yeah. I mean, Jerome LaRue Jr. is their number 3 running back, and he had an offer before he even played a down of football. They lose Stone Saunders, but I think they're just in as good of a position just because they can kind of reorient their identity to a different style of football that's still just as dynamic this year. So it should be fun to watch.
I still think they're going to be able to throw the ball. So
Oh yeah,
Sebastian
for
Jones, I
sure.
watched him too. He's good. I like him. He's good
Yeah.
too.
We're going to get some pass attempts in that week 2 game, so should be fun. I can't imagine there are many better wide receiver room matchups, definitely in District 3, but, in the state, so it should be fun to watch. Well, I think we covered all our bases from last night. We've got the East-West games on Sunday you'll be at. I think this is coming out after that. We already have kind of talked about that, but we'll catch up with you later about how those went. But I think, as Brian says, I think we've got a podcast. So this will probably be my last time hosting for a while, but I think I did okay. So
Yeah, they're great, brother. They're great.
I think we survived. We kept moving the chains, kept gaining 4 yards on every down and picking up first downs. Wasn't exactly a Super Bowl level performance, but we got it done. So I'm Dan Sostek. This is Rymir Vaughn. Thanks for listening to PA High School Football Report.